Forget the crypto plays and the hustle grind. The real wealth building strategy is embarrassingly simple, profoundly boring, and most people scroll right past it. But once you see the actual math behind these 10 unsexy habits, you will never look at your money the same way again.
I want to start with something that might reframe this entire conversation for you. Research from Duke University suggests that nearly half of what you do every single day isn't a conscious choice at all. It's automatic behavior. Your brain running pre-programmed routines while you're busy thinking you're actually deciding things. And here's the wild part. The people who have genuinely built serious wealth, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, not the people who look wealthy on Instagram, but the ones who actually have it. They didn't get there through superior willpower or some rare discipline that most of us lack. They got there by making boring, automatic behaviors so deeply embedded in their daily lives that wealth essentially accumulated in the background while they were just living.
That's what this video is about. 10 habits that are genuinely unsexy. 10 habits that would never go viral. 10 habits that most people will dismiss because they don't feel powerful enough. And 10 habits that, when you actually run the numbers, produce life-changing financial results over time. Let's get into it. Habit number 1, drive an older car far longer than feels socially comfortable. I know, not exactly the thrilling opener you were hoping for, but hear me out, because the numbers here are genuinely staggering. According to data from Edmunds from late 2025, the average monthly payment on a new vehicle has climbed to around $772. That's nearly $9,300 every single year before you even factor in insurance, registration, gas, or the inevitable maintenance costs. And here's the part that should make you feel physically ill. New cars lose somewhere around 20 to 25% of their value within the first year of ownership. A $48,000 vehicle can be worth $33,000 by the time you've driven it for 12 months. You literally lost more than many Americans save in an entire year just by buying something and keeping it in decent condition. Now consider the alternative, a 5 or 6-year-old Toyota or Honda that's already absorbed that brutal initial depreciation, costs $15,000 to $20,000, runs reliably for years with basic maintenance, and doesn't require a monthly payment bleeding your budget. If you took that $772 monthly payment you're not making and invested it consistently at an 8% return, you'd be looking at roughly $170,000 over 15 years. $170,000 for not upgrading your car. Surveys of actual millionaires consistently show that the most common vehicles they drive are Toyotas, Hondas, and Fords, not luxury brands, practical, reliable transportation that gets them from point A to point B without destroying their wealth in the process. The destination is the same regardless of what you drive to get there. Habit number 2, eat the same meals on rotation every single week. Before you close this video, let me explain what's actually happening in your brain when you do this. Research from Cornell's Food and Brand Lab suggests the average person makes over 200 food-related decisions daily. 200. And every single one of those micro decisions burns mental energy that your brain would rather spend on literally anything else. When you eat the same 4 or 5 meals on a weekly rotation, you eliminate the majority of those decisions entirely. Your grocery list becomes predictable. Your budget becomes consistent. Your food waste drops dramatically. And that last point matters more than most people realize. The average American family throws away approximately $1,500 worth of food every single year. Not eats poorly, not makes suboptimal choices, literally throws into the garbage. That's $1,500 that could be building compound interest instead of rotting in a landfill. Households that adopt a meal rotation system consistently spend around 30% less on food than households that figure it out week by week. The meals don't have to be miserable. You can rotate seasonally, adjust seasonings and sauces, and still find meals you genuinely enjoy The structure isn't a cage, it's actually freedom from the mental exhaustion of constantly figuring out what you're eating next. Habit number 3, eat everything you buy before you buy more. This one sounds almost insultingly simple, and yet almost nobody actually does it. Before your next grocery run, go through your refrigerator, your freezer, and your pantry and make meals from whatever's actually there. That frozen chicken thighs from 3 weeks ago, those random canned goods in the back, whatever vegetables are still hanging on in the crisper drawer. Use it all before you restock. Americans waste about 30% of the food they purchase. For a family of 4, USDA data puts that waste at roughly $1,500 annually. A practical version of this habit is to designate 1 week each month as a use what you have week. No grocery shopping, get creative with combinations. Only once you've actually exhausted what's already in the house do you go buy more. This single shift can reduce food spending by 15% without changing what you eat in any meaningful way. The money doesn't vanish in one dramatic purchase. It evaporates in the slow, consistent drip of food bought with good intentions and quietly thrown away. Habit number 4, make your coffee and drinks at home. All right, yes, the coffee habit. I know you've heard this before, but let me give you the actual numbers because they're more dramatic than most people realize. Research from Empower found that Americans spend around $44 to $51 monthly on coffee shop purchases as of 2025. If you're buying one specialty drink every workday, you're looking at $1,500 to $2,000 per year on beverages that cost you somewhere between 25 cents and 50 cents to make at home. Here's the part that should genuinely stop you in your tracks. If you took that $1,800 annual difference and invested it at 8% returns over 30 years, you end up with somewhere around $220,000? $250,000 for making your own coffee. And this isn't about deprivation. A good home setup, whether that's a pour-over, a French press, or an espresso machine, can produce something equal to or better than what you're buying. The ritual of making it yourself can actually become enjoyable. The idea is simple. Save the coffee shop for meaningful social occasions where the experience adds something real. Make the daily caffeine at home where the only purpose is the caffeine itself. And this principle extends beyond coffee. There's a framework sometimes called the $27.40 rule. Spend just $27.40 per day on small, impulsive purchases. A drink here, a snack there. Something grabbed in a moment of convenience, and you've spent $10,000 over the course of a year. $10,000 on things you barely remember buying. Habit number 5, bring your own food everywhere. Buying lunch out costs somewhere between $12 and $18 in most markets right now. Bringing the same meal from home costs $3 to $5. If you're purchasing lunch at work 5 days a week, you're spending anywhere from $3,000 to $4,500 annually just on midday meals. Bringing your own drops that to somewhere around $750 to $1,300. The savings are genuinely significant, and that's just workday lunches. This extends to travel too. Airport food is notoriously marked up. Restaurants at tourist destinations often run 30 to 50% higher than equivalent meals at home. A practical approach when you're traveling is to find a grocery store when you arrive. Stock up on breakfasts, snacks, and simple meal ingredients, and only eat out for the meals where the experience itself is part of the trip. A week-long vacation can easily cost $500 in food this way instead of $1,500 to $2,000. And that difference funds another trip entirely. Nobody posts Instagram stories about grocery store rotisserie chicken eaten in the hotel room, but the people doing it are often the same people who can actually afford to travel consistently. Habit number 6, shop in person instead of online. Here's a habit that sounds counterintuitive because we've been conditioned to believe that online shopping saves time and money. And in terms of time, maybe. In terms of money, often not. Research on consumer behavior suggests that online shoppers spend somewhere between 15 and 30% more than in-store shoppers on equivalent purchases. The entire infrastructure of e-commerce is designed to minimize friction between you and a purchase. Saved payment information. One-click ordering. Personalized recommendations engineered specifically to find more things you'll want. Every obstacle between your impulse and your money has been deliberately removed. Shopping in person reintroduces friction. You have to go somewhere. You have to carry things. You have to wait. Each step gives your brain a moment to ask whether you actually need what you're about to buy. A practical reset worth trying is to delete shopping apps from your phone for a month, remove saved payment information from websites, and commit to making any non-essential purchase only in person. The items you genuinely need will still be worth the trip. The things you merely wanted in a moment of boredom or emotional impulse won't survive the friction of having to physically go get them. After 1 month of this reset, you'll have interrupted patterns of mindless purchasing that were quietly pulling hundreds of dollars out of your account without you ever really noticing. Habit number 7, build a consistent wardrobe and stop buying clothes. The average American spends around $1,800 annually on clothing, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Much of that clothing gets worn a handful of times before being donated, forgotten, or thrown away. Fast fashion has normalized constant wardrobe turnover. Social media has created a cultural expectation that you should never repeat an outfit. Both of these forces are extremely expensive and completely unnecessary. The alternative is a capsule wardrobe concept, a core set of quality pieces that work together, fit your lifestyle, and will hold up for years. You wear the same things repeatedly. You repeat outfits without shame. You look essentially the same most days. And here's the key insight that changes how you think about clothing costs. A $300 item worn 100 times costs $3 per wear. A $30 item worn twice costs $15 per wear. The expensive, high-quality piece is actually cheaper over time than the cheap thing you replace every season. Research on millionaire habits consistently shows they're not cycling through new wardrobes. They find what works, they stick with it, and they redirect the time and money they're not spending on clothes toward things that actually build wealth. Habit number 8, pay yourself first and treat that savings like a non-negotiable bill. Here's the sequence most people follow. Paycheck arrives, bills get paid, spending happens throughout the month, and then whatever remains, if anything remains, theoretically goes to savings. This sequence virtually guarantees savings will always be minimal. Spending naturally expands to fill available money. When savings is the last priority, savings gets squeezed out every time. The inversion of this is one of the most powerful structural changes you can make to your financial life. Set up automatic transfers to your savings, retirement accounts, and investment accounts to run on the day your paycheck hits. These happen first, before anything else. What remains after paying yourself is what you have to work with. Your lifestyle adapts to the smaller number rather than expanding to consume everything available. Research from Stanford on financial automation found that people who automated their savings reported equivalent life satisfaction to people who earned more but saved less, because money that's already moved to savings stops feeling like money that's being withheld from you. Your brain categorizes it differently. You adapt, you adjust, and you build wealth without ever needing to white-knuckle your way through temptation every single month. Habit number 9, live 2 years behind your income. This one is subtle and incredibly powerful. Every time your income increases, through a raise, a promotion, a new job, the natural impulse is immediate lifestyle expansion. More money feels like permission to upgrade everything. The apartment, the car, the restaurants, the wardrobe. This behavior is called lifestyle creep, and it's why plenty of high earners have the exact same financial stress as people making far less. Their expenses expanded perfectly in sync with every income increase, leaving them with zero margin regardless of how much they earned. Goldman Sachs research found that 41% of Americans earning between $300,000 and $500,000 report living paycheck to paycheck. At those income levels, the amount you earn is almost irrelevant if lifestyle consistently consumes all of it. The alternative is to pretend you're still earning what you made 2 years ago. When the raise comes, don't upgrade anything. Keep the apartment, keep the car, keep the existing spending patterns, and bank the entire difference. So, when your income goes from $65,000 to $80,000, but your lifestyle stays at the $55,000 level, you have $25,000 annually flowing into investments rather than the $10,000 you were managing before. The wealth accumulation accelerates dramatically while your quality of life stays stable. Your lifestyle still improves over time. It just improves on a delay that makes you genuinely wealthy rather than just feeling temporarily flush. Habit number 10, find a hobby that makes you money. This final one is different from everything else on this list because instead of reducing what goes out, it increases what comes in. Research published by Inker found that 65% of self-made millionaires have at least 3 income streams. Not one, at least 3. And for most people, building additional income streams feels overwhelming because they imagine starting a formal business from scratch with all the complexity that involves. Here's the reframe. Instead of starting a business, look at what you already enjoy and find a way to generate income from it. If you love fitness, document your journey. If you're skilled at something tangible, sell what you make. If you have deep knowledge about something, teach it somewhere. If you're good at your job, consult for others navigating the same challenges. The infrastructure for monetizing your interests has never been more accessible. Platforms already exist for selling products, services, expertise, and content. The barrier to entry has dropped dramatically. This doesn't require quitting your job or working exhausting hours on top of everything else. Even 3 to 5 hours a week directed toward building something productive can generate an extra $500 to $1,000 monthly, depending on what you're doing and how you approach it. That additional income feeds directly into the earlier habits. Larger retirement contributions, faster debt elimination, a bigger emergency fund. The compounding accelerates because more money is entering the system. And there's a secondary benefit here. A productive hobby replaces a consumptive one. Time spent building something generates money. Time spent browsing online often costs it. So here's where we land. None of these habits are exciting. Not one of them will generate likes on social media. Not one of them will make you the most interesting person at a dinner party. But Ramsey Solutions research on over 10,000 millionaires found that 79% of them are entirely self-made with no inheritance. Only 31% averaged over $100,000 in income throughout their careers. The average millionaire reached that status after 28 years of consistent boring behavior. Not dramatic windfalls, not perfect timing, not some secret formula. 28 years of these kinds of habits compounding quietly in the background. Let's look at the actual math, because this is where it clicks. Driving an older paid-off car instead of financing something new saves roughly $5,000 to $8,000 annually. Meal rotation and eating at home saves $3,000 to $5,000. Making your own coffee and drinks saves $1,500 to $2,000. Bringing your own food instead of buying out saves $2,000 to $3,000. Reducing impulse purchases through friction saves another $2,000 to $4,000. Add those together, and you're looking at $13,500 to $22,000 in annual savings compared to typical American spending patterns. Invest $15,000 of that annually at 8% returns over 25 years, and you're sitting at approximately $1.2 million. These boring, unsexy, deliberately uncool habits produce millionaire outcomes. The exciting spending patterns that look great online produce paycheck to paycheck stress, regardless of how much someone earns. Here's the thing, nobody in personal finance really wants to say out loud because it's not exciting and it doesn't sell. There's no shortcut, there's no hack, there's no single investment or opportunity or piece of advice that replaces years of these boring choices compounding quietly in your favor. The average American cannot cover a $1,000 emergency. The average American carries more credit card debt than savings. The average American will work well past the point they'd like to stop because they never built anything that generates income without their physical presence. These aren't statistics about people who made terrible decisions or had catastrophic bad luck. These are statistics about what happens when you follow culturally normal spending patterns instead of boring saving habits. Unsexy works. Boring builds wealth. The habits that feel like sacrifice in year 1 feel like extraordinary freedom in year 10. Pick the boring path. Start with just one of these today. Not all 10, just one. Automate it so it requires no willpower to maintain. And then add another and watch what happens when you stop fighting your financial life and start engineering it to work in your favor. If this was useful, drop a like. It genuinely helps more people find this kind of content. And if you want to see more videos on building actual wealth through the unsexy, boring fundamentals that actually work, subscribe, and I'll keep making them. See you in the next one.